I'm a bit old school when it comes to adopting new tactics, techniques, procedures, or pieces of equipment. I want to make sure that's actually going to be time tested and it's going to be mission enhancing and not just some passing fad. So initially I was a bit hesitant to invest in a red dot sight on a handgun. After talking with several guys who are still active duty and seeing that they were running red dot sights on their duty handguns, then I says, okay, it's time to jump into the 21st century and get on board. So the red dot that I invested in initially was the Vortex VIPER. The Vortex VIPER had a reasonable price at the time, as well as it's backed by Vortex's unconditional lifetime warranty. The thing about lifetime warranties, however, is that you should never have to actually capitalize on it. Unfortunately, this one is about to go back to Vortex, so we're going to test out that customer service that I understand is phenomenal. But I've had a loss of confidence in it because there was a significant shift in the zero. I'm going to remount it to this gun and demonstrate that here today. But for an everyday carry piece, you must be confident in your gear. And just to be clear, I don't want anyone to think that I'm bashing Vortex as a manufacturer. They seem to have some very good quality products and their customer service reportedly is phenomenal. And I don't think many people in the industry are going to be able to beat their unconditional lifetime warranty. However, since this is my everyday carry gun, I cannot stand the liability of having something that I don't have confidence in to actually stay on the mark. Now, the intent of this video is not to bash Vortex, and it's not intended as a review of the Vortex VIPER. However, there's a couple things that I will point out that make the Vortex VIPER less than optimal now that I've had it and shot it for a bit, and this is even before I had that very significant shift in the zero of it. So the primary or the chief complaint that I would have against the way this one was designed is that after you have the elevation and windage zeroed, then on the rear of the sight is where you have little knobs to turn to lock those adjustments into place so they don't shift. If you have rear sights on your handgun, once you mount the sight and zero it, you cannot get to those locking little knobs. You have to remove the sight, lock it into place, remount it, and then reconfirm your zero. So that makes it a little bit more cumbersome than it needs to be. So the other observation that I have that makes the VIPER less than optimal is that you would have to remove the sight to change the battery. Hence, once you change the battery and remount the sight, then you need to reconfirm that your zero has not shifted. So those were the chief complaints I had, which were minor annoyances once I had it zeroed, but not that big of a deal. But however, when we have a zero shift of several minutes of angle on that red dot optic, that is of concern. So every time that I would change the battery and remount it to the gun, I would confirm the zero. I had anticipated there would be at least a minor zero shift in taking the sight off and remounting it, and I didn't experience any shift until just one day randomly it went from hitting right on target at 36 yards to totally missing the target at about 25 yards. That is when I lost confidence in this sight. It would be irresponsible for me to remount this one to the gun, because even if I re-zero it, if I experience another random zero shift like that, then I'm putting innocent third parties at risk. So with that being said, after this demonstration, this is going back to Vortex with a very nice write-up as to what the issue is and asking them to either fix or replace it. But before it gets reintegrated into my everyday carry routine, I'm going to pressure test it yet again to make sure it does not fail. So when we start today, we're going to be shooting at a 3/4 inch sticky dot that's going to be on the target backer. What we're likely going to observe is there'll be zero impacts on the paper whatsoever. What I previously observed is that the point of aim being dead on, the point of impact was way low and to the right. So we're going to check that out now. We're going to start out at 36 yards. Then I'm going to move the target to 25 yards because it's easier math to figure out how many minutes of angle that it is off, so I can clearly articulate the problem to Vortex when I send it back. All right, let's get to it. All right, so I got the red dot remounted onto the gun. I have a rear bag here. This is usually associated with precision rifle shooting. I'm going to use this to rest my wrists on. My forearms will be resting on the shooting platform here. That way it takes as much shooter influence away from the test as possible. We want to see how far that zero has shifted. Got 5 rounds loaded in the magazine. Alright, the gun is clear. So just as predicted, there were 0 impacts on the target backer at 36 yards. Now I'm going to aim at a target that's at 25 yards. You'll notice on this one I put that little 3/4 inch sticky dot in the upper left hand corner. That's because we've observed that the rounds are impacting way low and to the right. This way it maximizes the likelihood that we'll actually get some impacts on the paper. We can put a ruler against that, measure it, and then have some actual data to go off of. Alright, so that was not the best shooting of my life. It was an acceptable group at 25 yards with a handgun, but since I'm shooting from a rest with a bag, it ought to be a little bit tighter than that. But the results was about 16 inches to the 4 o'clock from the point of aim to where it impacted. I'm going to reshoot that again, got a fresh target up, so we're going to verify that data. All right, let's go check it out. So this is the second of the 5-round group that I shot. I did a little bit better than the first, but it still maintained exactly 16 inches from point of aim to point of impact. For context, 16 inches of deviation at 25 yards equates to 64 minutes of angle. That is how far it is deviated on its own. This is more than just, oops, Mike bumped the sight or accidentally adjusted something. We're talking about gross deviation from where it had previously been zeroed. Now, 16 inches at 25 yards is quite significant, because if I take that 16 inches and now I'm aiming center mass of the high thoracic of a threat, you'll see that I'm missing plumb off to the side of the target. Not only is that bad because the threat is still a threat, but we're putting an innocent third party at risk if anyone is beyond that target. This is why I've lost confidence and it will not go back onto my everyday carry gun. Whatever I get that replaces it, it will have to go through several months of validation before I'm comfortable carrying it again. Again, the purpose of this video is not to bash Vortex as a manufacturer. I'm quite confident they're going to make good on this. The moral of the story is it's your responsibility to know the capabilities or limitations of your gear, pressure test it until you're confident it's not going to fail you. All right, I'll follow up later with whatever the resolution is. Until then, God bless and stay safe.